Okay, so get this right.
Yeah.
This is a story about a restaurant. Well, they got caught passing off Popeyes chicken as their own,
Yeah.
like gourmet prices for fast food, right?
Right.
We've got a Reddit post with a ton of opinions.
Yeah.
And a news article from ABC7.
Okay.
So let's dive in, right?
Mhm.
See what really went down at this place called Sweet Dixie Kitchen in Long Beach,
Okay.
and what this whole thing says about, what we're all eating these days.
Well, it's interesting how this story just blew up on Reddit, right?
Yeah.
A customer posts on the Today I Learned subreddit really exposed this whole thing, so.
So Sweet Dixie Kitchen, I mean, they were known for this Southern comfort food,
Yeah.
especially chicken and waffles.
Right.
But it turns out their, quote, homemade chicken
Oh, yeah.
was coming straight from Popeyes.
Mm.
And so this customer, they saw employees carrying Popeyes boxes,
Oh, wow.
got suspicious.
Mm.
And, well, things kind of escalated from there.
And instead of just like backing down, the owner actually doubled down,
Yeah.
saying she loved Popeyes, thought it was the best even,
Really?
mentioned wanting to put it on the menu officially.
Oh, wow.
Well,
But her defense, it wasn't just about the taste.
right.
She claimed her restaurant wasn't even equipped to fry chicken,
Wow.
which, kind of core part of a Southern comfort food menu.
That's a good point. Like, if you can't fry chicken,
Yeah.
should you really be presenting yourself as like the real deal,
Right.
a Southern comfort food spot, especially when you're charging those prices for essentially reheated fast food?
Right. And that's where things get interesting, right? In the
Yeah.
Reddit comments.
Oh, yeah.
Some people, they're calling it a total ripoff,
Yeah.
especially since the restaurant was literally called Sweet Dixie Kitchen.
Right, right.
Others are saying, well, it's no different than other restaurants using pre-made ingredients.
Like, yeah.
Like, stuff from Cisco, one of those big suppliers.
Mhm.
So it's like, where's the line, right, between convenience
Right.
and deception, right, in the food world?
Yeah, how much transparency are we entitled to, right,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
consumers?
Yeah. And the Reddit comments get kind of wild.
Oh, yeah.
One person claims they actually saw a Popeyes bag rip,
No way.
spilling chicken on the floor
Hmm.
right in front of customers.
Oh, my God.
And then there are all these other stories about like a bakery reselling Costco cookies.
Yeah.
And this guy who won a chili cook-off using Wendy's chili. It makes you wonder what else is going on out there.
It really is. It's a good example of how this Sweet Dixie Kitchen thing isn't just some weird one-off, right?
Right.
It kind of points to this larger trend, the rise of these ghost kitchens,
Right.
these delivery-only restaurants operating out of existing kitchens or shared spaces, right? And they don't always advertise their true origin.
So this is where it gets tricky. For anyone ordering food these days, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the Redditors, they actually shared some tips on
Yeah.
spotting these ghost kitchens. Generic names,
Okay.
those two perfect food photos,
Mm-hmm.
and addresses that match up with totally different restaurants. Like, it's almost a detective game,
Yeah.
figuring out where your food is really coming from.
Makes you think, right, like we're so used to, like the convenience
Yeah.
of ordering anything we want, a few taps on our phones.
Yeah.
But are we sacrificing like transparency, maybe even quality for that ease?
It's almost like Sweet Dixie Kitchen. It's this cautionary tale for all of us who love to, order in.
Exactly. And ghost kitchens, like for all the convenience
Yeah.
they offer, right?
Yeah.
They're adding another layer of complexity here.
Yeah.
Some operate under multiple names out of the same kitchen, using like the same ingredients,
Oh, wow.
just packaged differently.
So how do we even begin to sort through all of that? I mean, it sounds like a recipe for confusion.
Well, some ghost kitchens, right. They are legitimate businesses. They just focus on delivery. Instead of having like a traditional dine-in space, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might partner with existing restaurants or operate out of these shared kitchen spaces to keep costs down.
So not all ghost kitchens are trying to pull a fast one.
Not necessarily, but the lack of transparency, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely a concern. That's where those red flags that the Redditors mention come in.
Right, like those generic names, Burger Bros, Pasta Perfect,
Right.
It's like they're designed to blend in, not stand out.
And then there's the Too Perfect food photos.
Oh, yeah.
We've all seen them. Every dish looks like it's straight out of magazine photo shoot.
Yeah.
Now, while good photography is important for any restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Some ghost kitchens rely on these like idealized images to mask the reality of their food.
I guess it's hard to resist clicking on those like mouth-watering pictures, even if they are kind of over the top.
Absolutely. But if the photos seem like too staged, or if every dish looks impossibly perfect, might be a sign to dig a little deeper. Check the address, look for reviews like that mention the actual food,
Yeah.
and see if you can find any info about like the parent company or the restaurant they're operating out of.
It's like you said earlier, it's becoming a detective game.
And don't forget about the address check. If a gourmet taco joint is sharing an address with a pizza place,
Right.
that's a red flag.
Okay, so generic names, glamorous photos, suspicious addresses, those are our clues
Right.
for spotting a potential ghost kitchen. But let's be honest, sometimes the convenience of delivery is just too tempting.
Of course, and there's nothing wrong with, enjoying that convenience. The
Yeah.
point is to be informed and make conscious choices, right?
Right.
Do your research, read reviews, don't be afraid to ask questions.
This all ties back to that question of transparency, right?
Yeah.
It seems like that's the key ingredient missing in a lot of these situations.
Transparency is crucial, especially in an industry where trust is so important.
Yeah.
Consumers have a right to know what they're paying for and where their food is coming from.
And it's not just about, avoiding being tricked.
Right.
I think there's also this sense of wanting to support businesses
Mm-hmm.
that are, upfront, honest about their practices.
Absolutely. When a restaurant is transparent, right,
Right.
about its sourcing,
Yeah.
prep methods, it builds trust, fosters a sense of connection between the business and its customers.
It's like you're saying, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is what you can expect from us.
Exactly. And that kind of honesty can go a long way in shaping our dining experiences and our perceptions of value.
It makes you wonder, does knowing the source of our food actually affect how much we enjoy it?
No, that's a fascinating question. And I think the answer might vary from person to person. Some people might prioritize, taste and convenience above all else, while others might place a higher value on knowing their food is coming from a place they trust and align with their values.
It's almost like there's a psychological element to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Our perceptions and expectations can influence our enjoyment of a meal.
Absolutely. The story we tell ourselves about our food, right, can be just as important as the food itself.
Right.
Think about the placebo effect. Sometimes just believing that something is better or more authentic can actually make us experience it that way.
That's so true. And I think that's where this whole debate, right, about ghost kitchens, it's really interesting. It's not just about whether the food is, good or bad. It's about what we as consumers value and how much we're willing to prioritize, transparency, authenticity in our dining choices.
And it's also about recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all answer. Right?
Yeah.
What matters to one person might not matter as much to another.
Yeah.
The key is to be aware of the different factors at play and make informed choices, right, that align with our own individual preferences and values.
It sounds like navigating the culinary landscape these days
Mm-hmm.
requires a bit more thought than just picking something that sounds tasty.
Right. Yeah.
We need to be savvy consumers, do our research, and maybe even be willing to pay a little more for transparency and quality.
Well, I think we all have a responsibility to think critically about where our food comes from and the impact our choices have, on the industry as a whole. Whether we're choosing to dine in, order takeout, or cook at home, our decisions matter.
Speaking of cooking at home, remember those Reddit comments?
Yeah.
The one about the guy winning a chili cook-off with Wendy's chili? I mean, it's amazing how resourceful people can be.
That story really captures the ingenuity and adaptability of home cooks, right?
Yeah.
Also highlights how the lines between homemade and store-bought can become blurred, sometimes to our amusement, sometimes to our detriment.
It begs the question, does it really matter where the food comes from if it tastes good?
That's the age-old question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the answer, it depends on what we prioritize.
Right.
For some, taste is the ultimate measure of a good meal. For others, it's the experience, the company, or even the story behind the food.
It's like there's a whole spectrum of values and priorities when it comes to food.
And that's what makes this topic so fascinating. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all about, understanding the different perspectives, making informed choices, and enjoying the journey.
I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners, right?
Yeah.
We've explored this Sweet Dixie Kitchen saga, dug into the world of ghost kitchens, and even touched on the psychology of food and the importance of transparency. It's been quite a deep dive. Thinking back to that Sweet Dixie Kitchen story, it makes you wonder, What happened to their business after all that? Like, did they try to recover?
Well, from what I read, I mean, the backlash was pretty huge.
Yeah.
Tons of bad reviews. They got a lot of media attention, all negative.
Mhm.
And ultimately, they ended up closing.
So it sounds like in that case, at least, the lack of transparency really did have consequences.
Definitely shows how important it is to build that trust with your customers, especially now with social media, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Things can spread so fast.
It's like that saying, honesty is the best policy. It actually applies to business too, right?
Absolutely. And it's not even just about avoiding those bad consequences.
Right.
When a business is upfront and honest, it creates this loyalty, goodwill, you know?
It's about building that relationship based on respect and trust.
Exactly. And that kind of relationship can be so valuable for both sides.
So for our listener, what's the takeaway here? What can they learn from all this, diving into culinary secrets and ghost kitchens and everything?
I think the big thing is just to be informed, right? As a consumer.
Yeah.
We've got so many choices now when it comes to food, but that means we have to do our homework,
Right.
make good decisions.
Don't just click on the first yummy-looking picture on the delivery app.
It's exactly.
Take a second, read those descriptions, check the addresses like we talked about, see if you can find info on how that restaurant operates.
And don't be shy about asking questions, right? If something seems off or too good to be true, contact the restaurant, the delivery service, get some clarification.
And being a food detective, right? Like we said, got to be smart and choosy.
Exactly. And remember, supporting transparency and realness, it doesn't mean giving up convenience or finding cheap eats. There are plenty of places out there that do things right and are open about it.
So next time you're hungry and thinking about ordering in, pause for a minute. Think about where that food's coming from, what values you want to support,
Yeah.
Maybe it's that local place, family-owned, that's been around forever, or a newer delivery spot that's upfront about how they do things.
Right. The important thing is to make that choice, a conscious choice, that fits what you care about.
And it's not all about taste, right? It's the whole experience, who
Yeah.
you're with, the story behind the food.
Absolutely. And sometimes the best meals are the ones we make ourselves, right? Don't forget the joy of cooking at home, trying new things, sharing a meal with people you love.
Yeah, there's something special about sitting down together, telling stories, enjoying good home-cooked food.
So whether you're eating out, ordering in, or cooking up a storm at home, be mindful, be curious, and most importantly, enjoy it.
I think that's a perfect way to wrap things up. We've explored a lot today, the good, the bad, the delicious, in this whole world of food and the choices we make.
Hopefully we've given everyone listening something to think about and inspired them to think differently about their next meal.
Thanks for joining us on this culinary adventure. Bon appétit!